Magnum XL-200 opened in 1989 as the first ever roller coaster to eclipse the then mythical 200-foot barrier, and in doing so, kicked off one of the largest periods of innovation in roller coaster history, known as the Roller Coaster Wars, which led to some of the tallest and fastest roller coasters around today, some eclipsing over double the height of the roller coaster that started it all. But how does that original stack up to the modern roller coasters at both the point and all across the globe? Well, without further ado, let's get straight into my review of Magnum XL-200 at Cedar Point. The first thing that makes Magnum so iconic is its ride experience. So, let's break it down. Magnum starts with a short section of straight track before having a sharp drop and turning to the right and entering possibly the longest lift hill put on any ride. And unlike other roller coasters, that actually isn't a bad thing, because you get to listen to the incredible tune of the Aero anti-rollbacks for almost a minute. Oh, so good. And once you reach the top of that lift hill, you head down the 195-foot drop sloped at 60 degrees. And this drop feels distinctly different to more modern 200-foot drops, because it stays at that 60 degrees for a majority of the drop. So, in an essence, it almost feels like one large 200-foot ramp, which I actually kinda liked, even though the transitions were not the best, which is a theme that carries on throughout much of the ride and may just be the reason why it is so highly regarded, even almost 40 years after it opened. But we'll talk about that a little later. Magnum then heads into a large camelback, which gives a great view of Lake Erie in front of you, before sharply jolting to the left and heading into the first of 3 tunnels on the ride. This tunnel encloses the first real traditional airtime hill on the ride, which features some nice floater airtime, which, unlike the bad transitions, is not something that you will find a lot of on Magnum. And after that floater hill, you head into Magnum's turnaround, which may just have the most egregious banking on the ride up until this point. Like, just look at how it enters this first turn. It is just bonkers. And the turnaround itself has some decent positives, but mostly just gives some great views of Lake Erie. And after the turnaround, you begin the legendary Magnum finale, consisting of not 1, not 2, but 8 of perhaps the sharpest moments of ejector airtime on any roller coaster. Seriously, some people say Steel Vengeance or Iron Gwazi crush your thighs. No, this thing will crush your thighs, and your spine, and about every bone in the lower half of your body. In other words, if you love airtime so incredibly sharp and powerful that you will feel pain because of it, this is your ride, through and through. You will love this thing. Anyway, rant over. Magnum closes the ride with a very sharp brake run before having a slow turn to the left, then the right, which is where the headache will start to kick in, before entering the brake run. And that ends your 5,100 6-foot-long journey on Magnum XL-200. Magnum features a modified version of the Aero Mine Train trains featured on something like Cedar Creek Mine Ride. And these trains are actually pretty much the exact same as the ones currently on Gemini. As for restraints, you pretty much get a bar with a little bit of padding. So, if you don't get stapled, you will be flying in your seat on the Triangle Hills. The only thing I actually dislike about the trains is that they have very little padding on the seat backs, so your legs will hurt when you get shoved down after the airtime moments. As for looks, these trains are just so iconic. Show them to any coaster enthusiast and they will instantly know exactly which ride it is. So overall, I don't actually have any major complaints about the trains, and these are easily some of the coolest at the point. Magnum is lightly themed with a sort of futuristic style themed to new heights and the space age. This is present in the ride's entrance sign, station, and most notably, the rocket-themed trains that we covered in the previous segment. The ride's name also references the show Magnum PI, references the ride's length, and 200 plus foot height that was the first for its kind. Magnum is possibly Cedar Point's most iconic and most insane roller coaster. The Triangle Hills are easily some of the craziest moments on any roller coaster I've ridden. And while the transitions certainly aren't for everybody, they give this ride a character that I don't think any other ride at Cedar Point has, at least to this thing's extent. As for ranking, I have it around the middle of my rankings within Cedar Point's ride lineup. I don't think it's in the top 4 like some people say, but I also don't think it's near the bottom as some other people say. And I much preferred my experience on it than when I rode it 2 years ago, but that's when I was a younger enthusiast, so just chalk that up to preferences changing over time. Anyways, if you haven't made it out to Cedar Point yet, I highly recommend checking out the world's first hypercoaster and all of the other fantastic attractions they have there. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.